He wasn't snooping, that's the part that still gets him. He wasn't suspicious, wasn't checking up, wasn't doing anything. Except reaching across the counter to move the phone out of the way. He flipped it over slowly, his heart pounding. And everything he thought he knew about his life, every assumption, every comfort, every quiet Tuesday night he'd ever taken for granted, turned to ash in about 3 seconds. The message was right there on the lock screen. No unlocking required, no password standing between him and the truth. Just words, explicit, specific, unmistakable, from a man named Paul. To his wife. That was the unmistakable truth. He put the phone back down exactly where he found it, face down, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just swallowed something he could never unswallow. He stood in that kitchen and breathed, just breathed, because that was the only thing he could trust himself to do. His name is Marcus. That's not his real name, changed for privacy, but everything else, every detail of what this man did next, every move, every sacrifice, every calculated decision across 3.5 years, real. He and Carrie had been married for 14 years. 14. They had 3 kids together, a house, a life that looked, from every angle anyone could see, like something solid, something built to last. Marcus had worked his way up from high school teacher to school administrator to district administrator. He wasn't born into anything. He'd earned every rung of that ladder. And he'd done it while being the kind of husband who actually showed up, who stayed. Carrie had stepped back to raise the kids when they were small, and when they were old enough, Marcus supported her through nursing school, completely. The study nights, the stress, the doubt, the cost. He carried it with her, because he believed they were building something together. She became a nurse, she was good at it, and he was proud. But then, a second phone appeared. She said it was hospital issued, said some staff members got them. He didn't push back. Why would he? He trusted her. 14 years of trust doesn't evaporate over a second phone, except something nagged at him. So quietly, carefully, without saying a word, he looked into it. Nurses don't get hospital phones, only executives do. Paul was a doctor. Marcus confirmed everything he needed to confirm, and then, calmly, methodically, he called a divorce lawyer. He walked into that office expecting leverage, expecting the affair to count for something, expecting that 14 years of loyalty, of earning, of building, would mean the law would have his back. The lawyer looked at him with the kind of patience that comes from delivering bad news for a living. Community property state, no-fault divorce. The affair? Legally irrelevant, completely and totally irrelevant. Because Carrie had been the primary caretaker during the years the kids were young, and because Marcus earned significantly more, the math worked against him in every direction. He'd lose the house, he'd pay alimony, she'd walk with 50% of his retirement, and child support payments stretching across the next decade. He'd done everything right, and the law was going to hand her everything anyway. Subscribe before this story ends, because you won't believe what happens next. He'd lose the house, he'd pay alimony, she'd walk with 50% of his retirement, and child support payments stretching across the next decade. He drove home, walked through the front door, sat down at the kitchen table, and when Carrie came home that evening, from wherever she'd been, whoever she'd been with, he looked up at her, and he smiled. Not because he was fine, he was the furthest thing from fine. He smiled because somewhere between the lawyer's office and that kitchen table, a decision had quietly locked into place. He didn't have to like the hand he'd been dealt. He just had to be smart enough to change it. There was exactly one person he trusted enough to bring into this. A colleague named Anne, fellow administrator, someone he'd worked alongside for years, the kind of friendship that gets built slowly in the margins of hard jobs. Honest, steady. He told her everything. Anne didn't perform shock. She didn't flood him with sympathy. She listened all the way to the end. And then she said the 7 words that would reshape the next 3.5 years of his life. If you don't like the hand you're dealt, change the deck. He sat with that, turned it over, and started to see it clearly. The lawyer had given him a map of his own weaknesses. 2 problems. Precise ones. He earned more than Carrie. That had to change. And she had more documented time with the kids. That had to change too. Those were the levers. So those were the levers he'd move. Problem 1. The money. He went back to the district and requested a transfer. A regulatory compliance position nobody else wanted. Tedious work. Spreadsheets and policy reviews. No personnel management. No visibility. No prestige. The kind of role people used as a placeholder before they quit. He took it willingly. His salary held. But now he had something worth more than salary in that moment. He had time. Flexible hours. Work from home days. A schedule he could shape. Problem 2. The kids. He became everything. School drop-off every morning, pick-up every afternoon, homework at the kitchen table, dinner from scratch, weekend activities, doctor's appointments, sick days, school plays, all of it, every piece of it. He'd be lying if he said it was purely strategic from day one. At first, yes, he knew what he was doing and why, but somewhere in those early months, something shifted. His kids, who he'd always loved, who he'd always provided for, became his whole world in a way they simply hadn't been before. He knew their teachers, their best friends, the things that kept them up at night, the jokes that made them laugh till they couldn't breathe. He stopped being their father in theory and started being their father in practice. And every evening when Carrie walked back through that door, he asked how her day was. He offered dinner. He kept the house running. He kept his face calm and his tone warm. He bit his tongue until it bled, but he smiled. Now here's where the plan went from careful to masterful. Flipping the financial equation wasn't enough on its own. He needed Carrie to earn more than him, significantly more. Not slightly more. Enough more that any court would look at the numbers and see a completely different picture. He thought back to something she'd mentioned months earlier. Her supervisor had told the nursing staff that bachelor's degrees were becoming obsolete in their field, that everyone who wanted to advance would need a master's degree. Carrie had come home furious about it. She'd felt cornered, undervalued. Marcus remembered every word. One evening, casually, supportively, he brought it up again, agreed it was frustrating, told her she was too capable to be overlooked, told her she deserved more than the ceiling a bachelor's degree would eventually put over her head. He suggested she pursue her master's degree in nursing. He watched her face shift. He watched the idea take hold. He watched her eyes light up. He knew exactly what she was thinking about, and it wasn't the degree. He let her think it. He paid her tuition directly, every single dollar wired straight to the university. And he told her every evening was hers, to study, to attend class, to do whatever she needed to do, whatever she needed. You won't believe what happened next. 2 years passed, then 3. Marcus watched Carrie rush out that door night after night, and he smiled and he kept his mouth shut, and he raised 3 kids and he kept his house and he kept his plan. He almost broke twice. 2 separate nights where the weight of all of it, the patience, the performance, the silence, sat on his chest so heavy he could barely move. 2 nights where walking away and burning everything to the ground felt like the only honest option left. Both times, he didn't. He and Anne grew closer during those years. Not some reckless explosion of passion, nothing like that. 2 people who had seen each other clearly for a long time and finally stopped pretending they didn't. It was quiet. It was real. On the nights the silence in that house got unbearable, Anne was the reason he made it to morning. 3.5 years. That's how long he waited. Carrie finished her master's degree. She got promoted. Her new title came with a salary that exceeded his. At the celebration dinner, the one Marcus organized with the kids around the table and candles lit, Carrie laughed and said he should probably just become a stay-at-home dad at this point. He laughed with her. 1 month after her promotion, he picked up the phone and called the same lawyer. New financial landscape, new custody reality, new petition. The evening before, he'd arranged for the kids to spend the night at his mother's house. Told Carrie they were having a sleepover with Grandma. She was already thinking about something else before he finished the sentence. The next morning, a deputy knocked on the front door. Marcus opened it. The deputy asked for Carrie by name. She came to the door, still half asleep, confused, not yet afraid. He handed her the papers, and with that deputy standing right there on his front porch, Marcus looked his wife of 14 years directly in the eye, and he told her he knew, that he'd always known, about Paul, about all of it, from the very beginning. He told her to go be happy with her doctor. You won't believe what happened next. Carrie screamed. The lie came out automatically, reflexive, desperate, falling apart almost immediately. And then she moved toward him. The deputy stepped forward, told her calmly and clearly that domestic violence charges apply equally regardless of gender. Suggested she take a breath. Suggested she go inside and pack a bag. When the court ruling came down, it landed exactly where Marcus had spent 3.5 years engineering it to land. Primary custody awarded to Marcus, the documented primary caretaker, not just on paper, in practice, in reality, in the lives of 3 kids who knew whose car was always in the pickup line. The house, his. He refinanced, bought Carrie out at fair market value. Child support, she paid him. His retirement, fully protected. She surrendered any claim to it in exchange for the equity buyout she needed. The affair still didn't matter legally, but Marcus had never needed the court to punish her. He'd needed the court to protect him, and it did. He kept his promise about the kids. He didn't tell them a word about Paul. He meant that. He kept it. His mother, however, made no such promise. She told his sister told her children told his children. Within days, they knew. And between that knowledge and the family therapist, Carrie was now court-ordered to attend. She faced a reckoning no judge could have handed down. Marcus didn't say a single word. He didn't have to. The truth moved on its own. The day Carrie signed the final piece of paperwork, Marcus drove to Anne's house and cried in her arms. Not from grief, not from anger, from relief. From the particular exhaustion of someone who has carried something enormous for a very long time and has finally been allowed to put it down. He and Anne eventually married. He stepped back into his fast-track position at the district. He got the house, he got the kids, he got his retirement intact, and he got the woman who'd had his back through every single day of that long, quiet war. Carrie got exactly what she'd spent those years building: a packed schedule, an empty house, and 3 kids who knew exactly what she'd chosen over them. Karma isn't always fast, but when it's slow, it's thorough. If this story hit different, you're not alone. Drop a comment below. What would you have done in his position? Would you have played the long game, or would you have walked the day you saw that text? Subscribe to Revenge Reckoning Stories, because every week we go back into the darkest corners of Reddit and pull out the stories that prove one thing: karma always finds a way.